Aham Agyanatimirandasya Yananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunatham Nitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanditam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchaka Pachubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Mudidayet Nasta Presho Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Shevaya Bhagavad Yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. Today is Thursday, Brihaspati, Jupiter, is Guru, April 9th, 2026. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, The Creative Impetus, Chapter 3, Rishabhadev's appearance in the womb of Meadow Devi, wife of King Nabi. Text number 13 in prose form. Kinchayam rajasir apatyakamaha prajam bhavadrishim ashashana ishvaram ashisham swaga pavagayorapi bhavantam upadvavati prajayam arto pradyayo dhanadam ivadhanaham palikaranam. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The dear Lord, this is the Brahmanas speaking to Lord Vishnu in the sacrificial arena. Here is the great King Nabi, whose ultimate goal in life is to have a son like you. Your lordship, his position is that, like that of a person approaching a very rich man and begging for a little grain. Maharaj Nabi is so desirous of having a son that he is worshiping you for a son, although you can offer him any exalted position, including elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation back to Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The priests were a little ashamed that King Nabi was performing a great sacrifice just to ask the Lord's benediction for a son. The Lord could offer him promotion to the heavenly planets or the Vaikuntha planets. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us how to approach the Supreme Lord and ask him for the ultimate benediction. He said, Nadanam na janam na sandadim makabitamba jagadisha kamaye. He did not want to ask the Supreme Lord for anything material. Material opulence means riches, a nice family, a good wife, and many followers. But an intelligent devotee doesn't ask the Supreme Lord for anything material. His only prayer is, Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahaichiki Toyi. He wants to be engaged perpetually in the loving service of the Lord. He does not want promotion to the heavenly planets or mukti, liberation from material bondage. If this were the case, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not have said, Mama Janmani Janmani. It doesn't matter to a devotee whether or not he takes birth life after life, as long as he remains a devotee. Actually, eternal liberty means returning home back to Godhead. A devotee is never concerned about anything material. Although Nabi Maharaj wanted a son like Vishnu, wanting a son like God is also a form of sense gratification. Oh, yeah. A pure devotee wants only to engage in the Lord's loving service. Dear Lord, here's the great King Nabi, whose ultimate goal in life is to have a son like you. Your Lordship, his position is like that of a person approaching a very rich man and begging for a little grain. Maharaj Nabi is so desirous of having a son that he is worshiping you for a son, although you can offer him any exalted position, including elevation to the heavenly planets or liberation back to Godhead. Mukum karoti bachalam bhangam lagayate girim Jatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Didatarinum. There's that nice verse in the Bhagavatam. Narayana padak sarve dakutas chanda bibyati swargapa varganarakeshu apito yata darshinaha. That the devotees of the Lord are so wonderful that they don't care whether they go to heaven or they go to hell or they get liberation. Swargapavarga Narakeshu. Swarga means the heavenly planets. Apavarga means liberation. Narakeshu, going to hell. They don't care for any condition of life. Their only business is solely and wholly to engage in the devotional service of the Lord, regardless of the material condition. In the prayers of Lord Brahma in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 14, which should be everyone's favorite chapter of the Bhagavatam, but not necessarily so. It is mine, because it is so, as we state here every time we go from it, replete with many finely deliberated and considered conclusions that Lord Brahma, who is the great pure devotee and the head of our Sampradaya, has rendered in his prayers to Lord Krishna after being busted for stealing the cowherd boys and the calves, and then having Krishna humiliate him by showing his superior power. Because Brahma was thinking, I got it going on. I've got mystic powers. Just see what I can do. I can take them away and put them in a mystic slumber in a cave. And what is this Krishna? What is he going to do? And then he looked back and like, wait a minute, they're still there. I thought I stole them and hid them and put them in a mystic slumber. And they looked back in the cave. Yeah, they're still there. And you look back, oh, but they're here too. Like, what's going on? How is this possible? And as he was watching, the cowherd boys began dancing. And then they transmorphed into Vishnu forms. And when he saw this, Lord Brahma was, I've been defeated. He became bewildered. That's where it's called Brahma Vimohan Lila. There are those in the Brahma Sampradaya who do not accept this Brahma Vimohan Lila. No, he is the head of our Sampradaya. He cannot be Vimohan. He cannot be bewildered. Mohan means illusion. And Vimohan means really illusion, intensely illusion. V is an intensifier. So how could he's our spiritual master, the head of our Sampradaya, how can he be bewildered? How can he be placed into illusion? No, this is not possible. However, it is in the Bhagavatam, so it is not only possible, it's a fact. But out of loyalty, party loyalty, they cannot accept. That's interesting. Of course, party loyalty is a good thing if the party loyalty is to Krishna. I am in the party of Krishna. Prabhupada says we want to join the dancing party of Radha and Krishna. Therefore, when it comes time to tamp down the trash in the dumpster, I require one good dancer from the dancing party of Radha Krishna to dance the dumpster dance. But it is dancing, it is actually dancing for Krishna, for the cause of Krishna. So that comes under the category of party loyalty. We are loyal to ISKCON, loyal to Prabhupada's ISKCON. We are loyal to Prabhupada. And so if anyone says or does something against Prabhupada or against ISKCON, our party loyalty is manifest. It comes out. Like, who are you? Why are you disloyal to Prabhupada? Why are you disloyal to ISKCON? Why are you attacking? You are a rascal. You should be properly chastised and corrected and come to the right position. And if not, then fie upon you. You should be rejected. So we recently had an experience of someone who's supposed to be a devotee, yet they're attacking ISKCON, attacking the temple, attacking the devotees in the temple, legally even. So that is the behavior of a non-devotee. It reminds me of what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita about those who are not devotees. That neither cleanliness, nor truth, nor proper behavior is found in them. And to become a devotee means the opposite of that is that cleanliness and truth and proper behavior is found in the person of a devotee. So, just like it's explained in the 5th canto, yes, dear bhakti bhagavati akinchana, savarganas tatra samasate saraha, harava bhaktasya kato mahadguna, manovrate nasati, navato vihi. That those who are non-devotees, they cannot, even though they appear to have different good qualities, like being very rich or very beautiful or famous or talented or intelligent, still their qualities are actually all null and void. Why is that? Manorate nasati dhavato vahi. Manarata, they're being carried on the chariot of the mind. So imagine you're being, what's that song? Come on and take a free ride. Yeah, you take a ride on a chariot, but it's the chariot of the mind. Where's that going to take you? And not back to the spiritual world. Because if you're a non-devotee, your mind is what? Dhavato bahi. It's enraptured with sense gratification, and it is only considering that which is external. Bahi. Bahi means external. Bahir Nasingho, Hridaye Nasingho. That's the statement in the prayer to Lord Nrsimha, that Bahir Nasingho, he's outside, he's everywhere. He's outside of everything. Hridaye Nasingho. Hrida means the heart. So he's outside of everything, but he's also in your heart. So he's inside, he's outside, he's everywhere. You can't get away. You can't escape. So the Lord is like that. He's the controller of everything. He's outside of everything. He's within every atom. And he's within your heart, should you choose to turn to him. But unfortunately, as conditioned souls, we're Krishna Bahir Mukha. Bahir means external, also means turning away. Krishna Bahir Mukha. Our mukha, our face, is Bahir. Krishna's there, and we're turning away there. Of course, there's Prabhupada, there's Krishna. That's because we're in Krishna's temple. Krishna's everywhere here. Krishna and Prabhupada got us both sides. What do they say? You're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? So Krishna consciousness means to be stuck up between a rock and a hard place. You have Prabhupada on one side, you try to do something, Prabhupada will catch you and turn you back to Krishna. And then you go look to the other side, and there's Krishna. Hare Krishna, come in and sit down, please. Give her a cushion. So that is Krishna consciousness. Not Krishna Bahirmukha, not to turn away our face from Krishna. Or not to turn our back to Krishna. You know, in the items of the offenses in the deity worship is an offense to turn one's back to the deities. So one should observe that in temple room behavior, that not standing with the back to the deity, although sometimes we see that in the Sunday feasts and other places, people turn their back to Krishna, but no, we don't do that. That is proscribed behavior. So that should be avoided. So the Brahmins here, they're praying to the Lord, and they're a little bit feeling ashamed, Prabhupada says. They're a little embarrassed because we're doing this great sacrifice to worship the Lord. And boom, he appears. Wow, the Lord appeared. So he's appearing. So we want to praise the Lord, and what are we doing? Oh, King Nabi, can you give me a son? Like what? What are you talking about? You're asking for a son? Is it the Lord is here? You should be praying for pure devotion to the Lord. And Prabhupada quotes here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the verse 4 of the Shikshastakam. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim. Nadanam. I'm not asking for wealth, for money, like Janis Joplin was. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? My friends all drive Porsche. I must make amends. Worked hard all my life. Anyway, that was a song on the radio when I was a young man. Actually, right before I became a devotee. And everyone loved that song. Yes, God, give me the nice car. As they sometimes jokingly paraphrase a prayer that some Gujaratis are known to chant. Hey, wife, a car, a house by the sea, Jai Jagadish Hari. But no, I mean, it's better to approach God than not. When Srila Prabhupada was a child, him and his sister, Pishima, whose name is Bhavatarini, whose picture is and there's an article about her in the new Back to Godhead magazine, which I haven't read yet, but her picture is on the front cover and says that she's a saintly person. They were trying to fly this kite when they were children in Calcutta. And because they're Vaishnavas, they're Krishna conscious children in the family of a devotee, the father was Gaur Mohan Dey, who only wanted pure devotional service as his aspiration for his family, especially his children. They're trying to fly the kite. And sometimes you fly the kite, you have a little trouble getting it off the ground initially, but once you get it up there, the wind takes it. So they're trying to get the kite off the ground. And they prayed to Krishna, oh Krishna, because they couldn't get it to fly. So together they consulted each other and prayed to Krishna. Krishna, please make this kite fly. But for such small children, that is actually pure devotional service, because they feel themselves completely helpless and dependent on the mercy of the Lord, which is one of the items of Sharanagati, the 6 symptoms of surrender, as explained by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So to feel oneself always completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord in every condition of life. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is establishing the true position of pure devotional service. Na dhanam, I'm not asking for money. Na janam, I don't want followers. He knew that Facebook was coming, and Instagram, and these other social media where people get followers. And like, oh, how many followers do you have? How many subscribers do you have? How many views do you have? That's janam. Na dhanam, na janam. I don't want followers, profit, adoration, distinction. Na sundarim, I'm not asking for the association of the opposite sex, especially a highly qualified, beautiful one. Miss April. No, he's not asking for like that. Kavitam ba Jagadisha Kamaye. Oh, my dear Lord, the Lord of the universe, Jagadish. Jagad means the universe, and Isha means the Supreme Lord. So Krishna, he is the Supreme Lord of the universe. Jagadish or Jagannath. Jagannath, Nath means Lord, and Jagad means, of course, universe. So Lord Jagannath, he's the Lord of the universe. So what is the prayer of the devotee? Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. Oh, my dear Lord of the universe, kindly be visible to me. And in that prayer, the Jagannath Ashtakam, very famous prayer, especially in Puri, it's so famous, and they chant it so beautifully. One of the shlokas is like, I don't want gold and rubies, and I do not want a very beautiful and highly qualified wife, which the prayer says, which is desired by all men. No. Let me just take shelter at your lotus feet and serve you. So Lord Chaitanya is saying again, Janmani, Janmanishware. He's saying birth after birth. So he's not even saying he wants liberation. He's not asking to go back home, back to Godhead. No, life after life, just let me be your devotee. Bhavatad bhaktir ahituki twai. I just want causeless, unmotivated devotional service to your lotus feet. As is said in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. Ahituki twai. What is it? Causeless, unmotivated devotional service to Krishna. So without any cause, without any motivation, let me just render service to you. Yayatma suprasiddhiti, and that will completely satisfy the self. So we want to be, our nature is the spirit soul, anandamaya vyasat, we are seeking ananda, pleasure, happiness, and we want to be satisfied. But until we render devotional service to the Lord, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted, then, only then, will we be completely satisfied. That is the way to satisfy the self. That is the natural hankering of the self. And that is the completion and perfection of the activity of the self, is to serve Krishna without asking for anything, no motivation, and without any interruption. So that's that famous verse from the Shikshashtakam. And in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Srila Rupa Goswami, which we have as the Nectar of Devotion, rendered into an English study by Srila Prabhupada, in the first chapter of the first wave, verse 11, Rupa Goswami defines pure devotional service. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karma danabritam anukulena krishnanu shilanim bhaktir uttama. That pure devotional service is rendered favorably to the Lord, and it is free from any type of impurity or motivation. Jnana karma dinagritam, free from speculative knowledge, which the impersonalists and the Mayavadis are so fond of. They want to speculate their way to God. and attain liberation. But no, pure devotional service is free from that. Jnana karma jnanabritam, anabrita. I mean, it is completely free from that desire for speculative gain. And karma jnanabritam, free from furtive activities, which are activities that everyone performs in this world to try to gain something for sense gratification. You work hard, you get money, you spend the money, you enjoy. That's the karmic wheel that one gets stuck on. This one song by Blood, Sweat, and Tears. What goes up must come down. Spinning wheel, got to go round. Catch a painted pony on a spinning wheel ride. So they were talking about, allegorically, at least from our point of view, from the Vaishnava point of view, how the living entity is stuck on the samsara, the wheel of karma, the cycle of birth and death. And he's stuck rotating in different bodies. He's on the spinning wheel. And you could interpret that catch the painted pony means to try to get a slice of the pie of sense gratification. I want to get myself, a nice house, a good car, stability, retirement, all my health insurance, everything good for my family, all lined up, prestige, profit, adoration, distinction. So that is, as it's said in the Jagannathashtakam, that's something that everybody wants. It's desired by everyone. But pure devotional service means you're no longer interested in those things. No, Lord Chaitanya said, I don't even want liberation. I'll serve you life after life. Let me take a birth. Let me die. Whatever. As long as I can engage in your unalloyed devotional service, your pure devotional service, then that's what I'm praying for. It's an exalted platform because we can understand by looking within our own hearts that we have so many material desires. I want this, I want that. Man, if I could do this, have this arrangement, life would be good. We have so many schemes and plans within our mind, how we'd like to get those things. But we become a little Krishna conscious and we're like, okay, Krishna, you can give. Seems like it's too difficult to get if I'm just trying on my own. But if you give me, okay, then I can accept that. And Krishna knows what's in your heart. He knows your desires. He knows what you want. And he may give you various aspects of that. But as they say, be careful for what you wish for. You might get it. So you might want something and you get it, but then it could deviate you from Krishna consciousness. It could take you away. We don't want anything to take us away from Krishna's lotus feet, from Krishna's service, from this great mercy that Prabhupada has given us. We don't want anything to take us from that. So be careful what you're asking for. You might get it. But also, it's a fact that concomitant to the practicing devotional service, Krishna will naturally, because he's kind, he will fulfill the desires of his devotees. Actually, Krishna says that my only business is to satisfy the desires of my devotees. Isn't that amazing? That's God. He's only interested in satisfying his devotees. So the devotees are not praying to anything from Krishna except pure devotional service. And when they're praying like that, then Krishna certainly grants that, because his business is to fulfill the desires of his devotees. Not to get a new truck, or in some case, an old truck. New or old, it's still a truck. I'd rather have a new one myself. I need a new one. But we're not praying to Krishna. Oh, yes. I remember there was this one Mataji from Hong Kong. And she married an American devotee, Prabhupada disciple, and they were living in the U.S., but they were not very rich, to say the least, poor devotees. And she was praying to Krishna that please let us get a white car. Maybe in Hong Kong the white car is auspicious, I don't know. But certainly in the Texas heat, it's better than a black car. So, and then they got this white car. It was like an old Toyota, beat up used car. And she was telling, I just happened to be standing somewhere and heard her talking to another devotee. She said, Krishna is so kind. I was praying to him for a white car and we got the white car. And my mind was blown at that moment. I said, wow. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get a white car, Krishna will give you that. I know I have a white car. So, yes, he will give you the white car. That's what you're looking for. But if we only want things to be used in Krishna's service, that is the proper mood, not things for our enjoyment. Oh, Krishna, you gave that devotee a white car? Man, I want a golden car. Nice golden car. When Srila Prabhupada was in Australia, they picked him up in a Rolls Royce. And so the newspaper reporters, oh, why are your followers picking you up in a Rolls Royce? We thought you were supposed to be all spiritual and free from material desires. And Prabhupada said, the spiritual master is a representative of Krishna. If Krishna comes, what is this Rolls Royce? This ordinary motor car, tin, steel, lead, rubber. That's not sufficient. No, the spiritual master should be picked up in the golden car. The reporter was like scratching his head after that one. Prabhupada completely turned that foolishness on its head. No, what is this ordinary motor car? Oil and gas, and stinky, and requires so much maintenance. That's nonsense. It should be a golden car, a Vaikuntha chariot that moves through the air without any noise or pollution, or without requiring to, get charged up at the Tesla station. And you have to pay. So that is Prabhupada's showing the way of what is the real standard of worship of God and the worship of the spiritual master, Sakshad Hari Twaina. That he is as good as God because he's what? Hari Twaina. He has the Shakti, the potency, the Krishna-ness that Krishna has. He's imbued with that. So that's called Sakshad Hari Twaina. Sakshad means directly. Sakshad Hari Twaina. Not Sakshad Hari, which means directly Hari, but Sakshad Hari Twaina. He has that position of being the representative of God. So he's considered non-different. He's the servitor Godhead. And Krishna is the acceptor of service Godhead. They are related. So that's a nice point that Prabhupada made, although it goes way over the head of the materialist. So in the 14th chapter, back to where I was trying to get to that verse by Lord Brahma, he says, one of the wonderful verses he says is, Tate nukampam shukshami shamano munjana evatma kritam vipakam Ridvagava purvi vididhan namaste jiveta yomukti pade sadayabak. That one who goes on patiently serving the Lord, patiently without protesting and humbly accepting whatever comes to him, and obstacles and suffering and different things will come to us. Does anyone think that they're going to live a life and I surrender to Krishna and no suffering will come to me? I won't grow old, I won't get sick, I won't die, I won't struggle. Everybody will love me, everybody will praise me, the whole world will say how great I am. If you're thinking like that, think again. You need to adjust. You need an attitude adjustment. And usually that attitude adjustment comes in the form of Krishna's lotus feet or lotus foot upon one's head. You know, Krishna is very merciful, but sometimes that beautiful lotus foot may come down on your head in a very powerful way. But that suffering is temporary. And so one who goes on accepting the suffering as Krishna's mercy, thinking that this suffering is very little, it's not so much. I should have gotten much worse, much, much, much worse because of my sinful activities. But Krishna is so merciful, he's minimizing that suffering. So one who patiently goes on serving. Hrid Vag Vapurvir. Hrid means from within his heart, and Vag means Vak, with the words, with the speech. Hrid Vag Vapurvir. And the Vapu is the body, like we have the Vapu and the Vani of the spiritual master. The Vapu is his personal form. The Vani is his instruction. So some people, they're hankering for the Vapu, thinking that's the real mercy, but the higher mercy is the Vani, the instruction. One should follow the instruction. So Hrid Vag Vapurvir Vidinhan Namaste. One should go on offering obeisances to Krishna from within the core of his heart, using his body, his mind, his words, his speech to humbly and patiently serve Krishna. Jiveta yo mukti pade sadayabhak. He has as his rightful claim liberation. Jiveta yo mukti pade sadayabhak. Sadayabhak refers to primogeniture, the system that's traditional in patriarchal societies, where the eldest son inherits the estate of the father. That's called primogeniture. Primo means first, number one son. So the eldest son inherits the estate. So Dayabhak, that inheritance is guaranteed to him because he has that position. And so all he has to do is staying alive, ooh, 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 staying alive. That's all he has to do is stay alive. And then he will get that inheritance. Of course, nowadays you have all this, probate of wills and contesting and all these things, which are because everyone is greedy. Who was telling us? Oh yeah, Tamal Hari, that his mother passed away, and there was a considerable estate, over $1 million. And so his siblings, there's 4 of them altogether, they're all reasonable, sane human beings, except for one brother who's the madman. And he wants everything for himself. So he's contesting and fighting and legally wrangling. And he's trying to get more than his fair share. Because what? She loved me more than she loved you. I'm special. So that's what happens when the man is dying and he's on his deathbed and all the relatives gather around and he's like, delirious, or his eyes are closed. Hare Krishna. And they're gathered around the bed. I get the car. No. I get that car. Well, no, he told me, when he bought the car, that if he passed away before, the car was still good, that I could have the car. And no, I want the stocks and bonds. Oh, no, you don't get those. I get those. That had my name on it like decades ago. And then the man's laying in bed and said, hey, I'm not dead yet. And they're fighting over his stuff. But often there is some chicanery and cheating going on to see who gets what. And this happened in my own family. There was 60 acres of land, forested pine land in northern Louisiana that was owned by my grandmother. And it was promised to myself and my 3 brothers, 15 acres apiece. That land was designated, that was for the grandchildren, that was her inheritance to pass on. It was some family, asset that she had. And then she passed away. I don't know whatever happened to that land. I sure didn't get my 15 acres. And neither did my brothers. Not that I would want to, build a cabin there in northern swampland, Louisiana with the skeeters. And that land was, had a bunch of trees on it, so it was valuable for logging rights or something. But no, we didn't get anything. And then when my father passed away, there was an estate there, and I got exactly 0, as did my other brothers, except for my eldest brother got his colonel's uniform, his Air Force dress uniform. And that was it. And the flag, when they had a military funeral and they present the flag to the widow, my stepmother, and then she gave the flag to him. But otherwise, didn't get a plug nickel. Matter of fact, it cost me money. I had to pay gas to drive 300 miles to the funeral. So, that wasn't much of a bargain. So much for, love in the material world. But I mentioned this before. My stepmother got everything. And, I wasn't envious because, she deserved it. She was married to him for like 40-something years. So, she put up with him for 40 years. You can have it all. You earned it. You deserved it. And so, who could blame anyone? Who could be envious about that? Well, she worked. She deserved it. She earned it. I wouldn't put up with him for all that time. I'd see him every once in a blue moon. So, but the devotee, Dayabhak, it's this inheritance that he gets to go back home, back to Godhead. And when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had his conversion experience, where he was defeated by Lord Chaitanya, and it cracked his heart, and his impersonalism was destroyed, his Mayavadi. He was the chief Mayavadi in all of India. He was the biggest of the big Mayavadis. He would preach Mayavadi philosophy to the Mayavadi sannyasis, although he himself was not a sannyasi, he was a householder. Was so expert and so learned was he, because he's who? He's Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. He's Jupiter. He's Thursday. All those things. So, and then he told Lord Chaitanya, this verse in the Bhagavatam, Jiveta yo mukti pade sadaiva. I don't like that. Mukti pade. Mukti, I don't want liberation. Liberation is the goal of the impersonalists and the speculators and the Mayavadis. He said, I detest this liberation. What is that verse? Kaivalyam narakayate. That for a devotee, liberation, kaivalya, oneness with the Lord, narakayate. It's like hell. I don't want that. No, nothing like that. That's Abhival Mangala Thakur, I think, that verse. So this Mukti Pade, no, I'm going to change the reading. I'm going to change the Bhagavatam from Mukti Pade to Bhakti Pade. Jiveta yo Bhakti Pade. That his rightful claim is that he has Bhakti Pade, devotional service, not Mukti. And Lord Chaitanya was smiling, and he was laughing, he was appreciating. What a conversion from the great Mayavadi to someone who can't even stand the word Mukti. He wants to change the Bhagavatam from Mukti to Bhakti. And then Lord Chaitanya told him, but you cannot change the words of the Bhagavatam to suit your newfound appreciation and hatred of Mukti and appreciation of Bhakti. But still, we cannot change the Bhagavatam. We cannot change the philosophy. Like Prabhupada said, we cannot change the philosophy to suit the Americans. That was on the occasion when the group the obscene lyric group, the Thugs, from the Lower East Side of New York, came to 26 Second Avenue. And it just so happened, by Krishna's arrangement, or you could say by chance, as Jayadvaita Swami would say, by Krishna's mercy, or by the odds, or the chance, whatever. He said that one time. They're funny. But they came, and Prabhupada gave a very heavy lecture about the foolishness of attachment to sex life. And the Thugs were all about, sex and obscenity, and they were very controversial. And then devotees, were saying after, well, gee, Prabhupada, that was a little heavy, because these guys, that's what they're all about. And Prabhupada said, I cannot change the philosophy to suit the Americans, to suit the thugs of the Lower East Side and all their, delirious degradation. I think one of their songs was called Slum Goddess of the Lower East Side. And another one was, what was it? I Can't Get High. They were, very cynical and obscene and very low class. But Prabhupada was, you think Prabhupada didn't know who they were? You think Prabhupada was unaware? You think Prabhupada didn't know what he was doing? No. And that's one thing that Abhiram has said. There's some controversy about when Srila Prabhupada was leaving his body, and he was, on his deathbed, practically. And Abhiram has said that, they said, oh, they were trying to poison Prabhupada, and this and that, and they're whispering and saying, he said, Srila Prabhupada was completely aware of everything and everyone that was going on around him. He was completely aware of the consciousness of every person in the room. He knew everyone's heart, he knew their motivations, and he was nobody's fool. That was his statement. I loved that. That was in the Namras podcast interview. And that was so wonderful, the way he stated that. You should look that up if you haven't seen it. The Nam Rasa podcasts, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world, sometimes also called the late morning program. It's later on after the morning program. The interview with Abhiram. Amazing realizations, because he was Prabhupada's personal attendant. He was his nurse for that last period, 1977, of Srila Prabhupada's manifest existence on this planet. So he observed everything about Prabhupada. He said, no, this whole poison thing, nonsense. He said Prabhupada knew every single thing in every single person's mind that was around him. He was aware of everything, acutely aware. And he knew everything. Because if you're a devotee, he's empowered by Krishna to know everything. So, what else? I have one other thing. Yeah, I think that's it. So go on patiently suffering whatever reactions come to us from the material nature, but keep serving Krishna with your body, mind, and words. That is also a verse in the Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikalash vapyavastasu jivan mukta sa uchate. That someone, iha yasya harer dasye, someone who's serving Krishna, Haridas, with what? Karmana manasa gira, karmana, with your activities, manasa, within your mind, gira, with your power of speech. Then such a person, jiveta yo mukti, jivan mukta sa uchate, such a person is called a liberated soul, even while in this material world, because he has become completely spiritualized by virtue of his Krishna conscious absorption. And he's already liberated, even though he still has a material body. These material bodies are symptoms of what? That we're rascals, that we're forgetful of Krishna, that we're fallen. When a pure devotee comes, when Srila Prabhupada comes, his material body is different. His body is completely spiritualized, because what? Karmana manasa gira. He's completely engaged in serving Krishna. But not to confuse gira with giri. Gira means speech, giri means mountain. So when we sing Jai Radha Madhava, some of our devotees are saying, Gopi Janavalabha Gira Varadari. No. You jumble up the Sanskrit like that, it no longer makes any sense. It's Giri Varadari. Giri Varadari, the holder of Govardhan Hill. That's Krishna, not Gira Varadari, the holder of speech. What? Sanskrit like that. We should learn a little bit to pronounce it as far as possible. So Gopi Janavalabha, he gives pleasure to the gopis. Giri Varadari. And he's the holder of Govardhan Hill. So Gira and Giri. So one should learn these things properly. But then Rupa Goswami is saying, Karmana manasa gira. By your body, your activities, manasa within your mind, gira with your power of speech. If you engage them in the service of Krishna, then you're, even though while living in this material world, then you, jivan mukta, you're a liberated soul, sa uchite. That is a fact, that is known to be a fact. You're called a liberated soul. So we should aspire to engage so nicely in Krishna consciousness that even while suffering with these bodies and struggling with our own desires, that we engage ourselves in Krishna service. And then jivan mukta sa uchite. Jiveta yo bhakti pade. Going back home, back to Godhead through service to Krishna. All right, we'll stop here. Brief questions, comments? Yes, Divya.
I read that article about Bhishma, and it said when they went out to fly the kites, that Prabhupada's kite flew higher than hers, and then she started praying to Govinda, Govinda, and then hers went higher.
Yes. Didn't want to get beat out by her big brother. How sweet. Sweet. Pastime. Yes, Nitai.
Okay, so if there's a non-devotee and they kind of like cause anxiety to some devotees, but they're like genuinely interested in bhakti, what's like the best approach to handle them? Like, how do you engage them or help them along their path of bhakti?
Give them prashad. You can preach to them. But Shruti Shmriti Paranadi Pancharachakim Vidhivana Aikantiki Hare Bhaktir Upadat Yaiva Kalpate. That if one doesn't follow nicely, then what is the result? One creates unnecessary disturbance. So if you can help rectify them and bring them to the point of practicing Krishna consciousness nicely, but you can bring the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So we do our best to engage people in Krishna service. But if someone is causing a disturbance, then there has to be a limit. Especially if they're nefarious in their approach, which we have seen. All right. Stopping here. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.